Okay, afternoon everybody, and thanks very much for coming along. It's been quite a decent break between when we last kicked the football, when the club last kicked the football, and what we're about to enter into. And to put it mildly, it's been interesting. It's been an interesting ride. It's I think everybody, no matter what business you've been in, it's been a period of time which no one was prepared for. And everybody's had to adjust and make adjustments and serious adjustments to the way they operate. Football is a business, and this business is no different to all the other businesses, both in New Zealand and globally, that have been impacted by this crisis. So to be able to announce that we're on the plane tomorrow and flying across to participate in the resumption of the league is pretty exciting. We sort of feel like a lot of businesses around New Zealand, when they were able to start again after lockdown finished, you get around the cafes and the restaurants, the bars and so on, everyone excited about being able to get back doing what they wanted to do, and we are no different. For Ufi and the team to get on that plane tomorrow, to go to Australia and to prepare for the resumption of the league is I met with the guys today, and it's like opening a Christmas present. Everybody's excited, they're keen to get going and get back in there. So first date for us, of course, July 17th. We're up against Sydney, and we are really looking forward to it. It's when the season was suspended, we had real momentum. And the guys are very much focused on, actually, we can go and complete this. We do what we set out to do, and now is the opportunity to go and complete. So we're excited. The fans are excited. We had a great fan evening last night at the Churchill, and it was, everyone's pumped. Everyone's pumped about getting back in there. It's a bit like the rugby last weekend. Everyone was excited about seeing live sport, and we're no different. It was very much about confirming that we are on the plane and we are playing, and with Ufi and David Dome here, really happy to answer any of your questions.
Rob, do you have clearance to land in Sydney?
You have to take off first, Piney.
Yep.
Okay.
Are they going to let you off the plane at the other end?
Yes, they are. Yep. So, I know that there are some people who don't think that we can walk and chew gum at the same time, but actually it is possible to book a plane and get permission, and we've done that. So we've had the verbal clearance come through. They're just waiting on the final paperwork, but we've had the verbal clearance. So that's all go. And it is a complicated process. Everybody understands it, and you see what's happened in New Zealand recently with the cases where we had the two COVID cases coming out of isolation, not being properly checked. Nobody wants that. Everybody wants to make sure that everything is done properly, and you get a case like that, then everything gets heightened again in terms of, actually, are we ticking every I and crossing every T? And the sign-offs all became dramatically harder, I think, not just because of that. I think Australia's had a few issues, like the Ruby Princess, for example, where they realised that actually their controls weren't what they should have been. So it's a tough process. There's no favours there, not that we expected any. We knew there was a process to get through, and we've got through that process. And Domi, Sean Gill, and the FFA guys, particularly Greg O'Rourke, worked really hard to get it all done. And the verbal confirmation came back from the FFA earlier this morning. So we can take off and we can land.
How many are you going over?
33. 33 good players and staff, 33.
Based in Sydney?
Yep.
Based in New South Wales,
Gary and Ulysses will be in a hotel separate from the squad.
Yes, they'll be in a hotel for their first 2 weeks of quarantine. So we're trying to work out a plan on how to keep them active. There's discussions with the FFA at the moment to either put a treadmill or a bike into their room so they can keep active, and we'll see how they come out. And the main thing is we get over there and we get most of the boys back into the squad so we can resume training.
Do you feel you're at a disadvantage at all, given that other teams have already started training?
Look, it is what it is, the situation, so we'll make the best of it. I don't like making up excuses, but we'll come across every challenge that's been thrown in front of us. And once we get the group together and Uli and Hoops are out of quarantine as well, we'll manage them to make sure that they're ready.
Rob, are you happy with how this whole process has played out? Has it been frustrating?
There are frustrations because you're dealing with things you can't control, and a lot of the more recent process was we were having to do things that wasn't in our control. So yeah, you get frustrated when things don't fall quite the way you want, but that's the same, no different to any other business when you go through this period. I think for lots of people it's been a frustrating time, but we're through it. I think the really important thing is that collectively as a club, we have got through a very, very tough period, and it's like a relaunch. And as I said earlier, the players are excited about this. The fans are certainly excited. It will be good to get back out there and play live football. And once you're out there and playing again, you tend to forget about everything that you went through to get to where we got to. But I do think it's a huge credit to the staff, in particular to Damien and all his team, is that there was a lot of effort involved in doing this, and there's no blueprint for it. I think the Warriors, having done it before, we talked to Cam George quite a bit. They were really helpful. It was good to understand what they'd been through, and to be fair, Damie's been talking to him. I've talked to him. He said it was a constant of when's the approval coming through? Deadline, no, not met. Pretty frustrating for them. It is what it is. We're there. We're there. There's that tomorrow, and I think we'll forget about it.
Is it a charter flight or commercial?
Sorry?
Is it a charter flight?
Yeah, these guys only want to fly special. So no, it is a charter flight, and it was the charter flight was done on the basis that's the easiest way to ensure safety from a health point of view. It's a lot trickier to manage if everyone was sitting on a commercial flight, and it's a charter flight.
Did you get any explanation what the delay was? Obviously, the club was hoping to find out at the start of the week if you'd be able to go or not.
So again, it was just getting the process through. So there isn't an explanation. You simply have to go through the process. You have to, all the various authorities have to check through all the protocols that are provided, make sure that that they feel everything is in place. And it's just like, it's not a process you can speed up.
With Uli and Gary, how easy is it going to be to keep them fit that 2 weeks and be on the bike or through?
Well, we've tried to keep the boys fit in the last 3 months through Zoom calls and Zoom sessions that we've had. So it won't be any different for those guys whilst we're in quarantine ourselves. So we'll try to keep them active as much as we can through Zoom calls, and if we can get what the stuff that we need for them to be able to do their stuff in their rooms, that will be helpful.
You won't have Tim for the first 4 games with Ollie. Where's Louis Benson at? Is he training or is he available to play those football?
Well, Louis recovered, so he'll be training with the group once we start training. So it opens up the door for Louis and even Cal Elliott for that position. So Tim will be suspended for 4 games, and it's an opportunity for them to step up.
And did you think that 4 weeks was fair?
Look, at the end of the day, I don't make the final decision on what it will be, but at the end of the day, the FFA has come up with a decision of 4 games, so it is what it is. We move on.
Did that have any bearing in terms of delay in getting the team into Australia or not, Rob?
Sorry, what was it?
Payne and Ollie, did that have any bearing at all?
No.
Guys, when do you expect to see a draw beyond game 1?
Well, Damien, you want to answer that one? I mean,
there's a couple of scenarios, and I think the FFA and the league has done the right thing, and it's kept it fluid in case there are opportunities to play games at clubs' home grounds, which then opens up the potential to have fans and drive some revenue for a league, which is very important, as you know, given where we are now. So look, there are a couple of versions floating around. They're looking at 1 game at a time. They might open it up as we get closer to the season to 3 or 4 at a week. At a go, and then keep it loose after that. So, look, we've got one in front of us that we're working towards, but that's, I think like Greg has said, we still need to be reasonably fluid in case things do change, and the border restrictions within Australia and even in New Zealand, if we come to grand final time, if that changes.
So what are the prospects of a Trans-Tasman bubble getting games being played in Wellington?
You've got an opinion on that, Rob?
So, obviously for us to play a home semi or a home final, assuming we get to those positions, we would need to have a Trans-Tasman bubble in place. And I think earlier, a week ago, I would have been pretty positive on that. In fact, I was more than positive that would be possible. I think now it's a lot more difficult because of what's happened this week. And understandably, people are going to get a lot more cautious about alone and opening the border. But it is very unfortunate. Not just for us. I think it's unfortunate for the tourism industry. I think tourism industry was really getting itself geared up towards opening the border with Australia and getting Australians across here, things like the ski season and so on. So I think it's everybody appreciates that it's unfortunate, and it's made it certainly harder for us to envisage having football back here. It's possible. The whole thing with COVID and the crisis and even the responses to it is that it's almost a daily proposition. Almost every day there's something that changes simply because there is no blueprint to it. No one's been through a situation like this before. There have been variations on it, but nothing on this sort of scale. So no one has a playbook to go, okay, well, this is what happens next. There's a lot of stuff, that policy and so on, that's been made up as we go along. And as we all know, what people think will almost invariably what we have thought would happen hasn't necessarily happened in the way we envisaged. So it is possible that we will get that Trans-Tasman bubble in place, but I think the chances of that are a lot less likely than what they were a week ago.
What about your players who spent COVID in Australia? Given the fact our level 1 isn't quite there like their level 1 and different states in that, can they train with New Zealand-based players in the quarantine?
Want me to answer that one?
Yep.
Okay. Well, the boys everyone's been tested they've done their COVID testing, so all the boys the boys that were based in Australia can join the group straight away. So we'll be together.
Will you have to test again in Australia, and does that for 48 hours? Is that done now? You'll go to the ground straight away when you land?
So we can train when we land there, and I think they'll be testing once again after 4 days, and then 10 days after again they'll be testing with the whole group.
So do you want us to go back to the situation where before you came back, where you were in a group in a certain area and training as a group? So you'll have that for 2 weeks.
We'll have that for 2 weeks, yes.
And the guys coming from the furthest away, when do you expect them to be in Australia to start their 2 weeks?
So that we're working on a plan to get the players in at the same time, because every time a player comes in 1 day late, that means our 2 week quarantine extends to the date that they've entered that they've joined the group. So everyone will come in on Saturday once we arrive into Australia. That will all arrive at the same point to the training venue and the place, the accommodation where we're going to stay. So our 2 weeks will start together, and we'll keep the group together, and the whole group can train together.
That includes the 2 guys.
That doesn't include Uli and Hoops.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
Was it the same place you stayed last time?
No.
Are you happy about that?
Oh, look, for me, it's more important what the facilities can provide to us. It's a good facility. Valentine Sports Park has been there for a long time. They've got a great setup. They've got a great gym. They've got the pool there for recovery, and we've got a great field to train on, which is most important.
David, earlier this week you voiced your frustrations about how long this was taking. Perhaps that didn't go down so well in Australia. How's the relationship now?
No, the relationship is excellent. So we have a very good working relationship with the league. And, we've expressed it a few times that Greg O'Rourke has done an excellent job. We needed a kick along, or we needed to give the Australians just a reminder that we were waiting on this, and that we had a number of things that we had to complete before we could get over there, and we were running out of time. And whether or not it helped or hindered, we don't know. But let's just say Greg's done a great job of managing the process, and we've got it across the line. So really pleased.
And if we was asked this, but I mean, do you feel perhaps that you needed to do that because the Phoenix or perhaps getting a little bit behind the rest of the other clubs?
I think Rob mentioned it. It's the first time this has happened in this way. So everything that we're doing it's been made up as we go along. We did talk to Cam George at the Warriors a lot, and he gave us a lot of good advice on what they went through. And at the end of the day, what we've gone through is exactly the same as the Warriors have gone through. It did take a long time, a lot of bureaucracy to get through, and just had to keep on top of it. And just a little gentle reminder that we were waiting on things was maybe. No, I didn't think it hurt.
And I think that pressure, the pressure was important in terms of actually making sure everyone was hitting the deadlines they were supposed to be hitting, because we did not want to leave it any later than leaving, leave it any later, and then we would definitely end up getting behind the other clubs. So I think Ufi's okay with where we get to. I mean, every coach probably wants to train a bit longer and do more preparation, but in the end, it's certainly manageable. But didn't want to leave it later than this weekend, and that was very much, hey, we have to be on that plane on Saturday.
And you've also been keeping in touch with your players. You can hit the ground running. First day, you think the players are all
Well, they're all professionals, so they were given a program, and like I said, we've done a lot of Zoom sessions with the players, and obviously in New Zealand things change pretty quickly, so they're able to go down the park and have a kick around amongst themselves as well. So I'm hoping that they're relatively coming in a good condition, and we've got 4 weeks to prep them for that first game.
Is everyone from the first team squad not going, and are there any players outside fully contracted ones that are joining the team?
No, the current squad we've had from the start of the season will be the team that's travelling.
So that includes Sam Sutton?
Yep, Sam Sutton. Yep, all the same players will be travelling to Australia.
David, I know speaking to you during lockdown, you worried that the squad would have to change just as the realities of the situation. How have you managed to keep everyone together?
We've mentioned it before. The squad has been excellent. They're very aligned. They're very focused. We've had a couple of Zoom calls Rob and I had with the players over the lockdown, and they're very aligned and focused, and they want to go out there and win. And you talk to Stevie Taylor, he'll tell you that nothing short of winning the whole thing is acceptable to him. So when you've got a leader like that pulling everyone along, it's really encouraging. The players are in a good space, really, really happy with that. And I think it's testament to the way that the owners and the board have managed the way the clubs have managed throughout the lockdown. And the players have always been treated with a lot of respect, and we've communicated with them the whole way through. So I think they've felt part of the journey. And like I say, they're very focused. And there really is a sense that there's unfinished business, and that they can go over there and do something special this year.
I mean, every club is different, but I think it is, and I think it's testimony to the sort of culture that Ufi's put together. But with the visa players, it was a call to hoops, it was a call to early, and it was like, yep, boss, we're on the plane. And it wasn't a negotiation. We want to get back and play, and that hasn't been the case with all the visa players around the league. So there are public, there are a number that aren't coming back. So I think the fact that if you're in Mexico or you're in London, come back and finish the season, it's like that. That's a big upheaval. Come back, spend a couple of weeks in quarantine, and then finish the season. It's like, but it was like straight away they're on the plane. Hoops is already there. He's beaten us there. So I think that actually sort of sums up the feeling within the squad, which is, we want to go and do this. We want to finish it.
I think Sean Gill rang Gary Hooper to see his desire to come. I think the first thing we did well was we allowed those players to go back home, especially with Uli, who was having a baby. And I think they all appreciated the flexibility to remain in Australia if they're Australian, or to go back home with Uli at Hoops. And then I think when Sean Gill rang Gary Hooper to say, do you want to come back? He said, what, bags packed at the door, ready to go. He loves it here. He loved Wellington, loves the city, loved the team and the club. So he wants to finish the job.
Yeah, if David mentioned, Ross mentioned as well, talk about the relationship with the Warriors and seeing how they've gone through things. Have you talked to any members of the Warriors, or do you plan to see how they've gone through?
No, well, we sort of went through the process earlier before the season come to a halt, so we know what we're going to expect once we go over there. It's going to be pretty strict rules. We'll have our own space, which will be nice, and we'll have our own facility to do our work at the end of the day, which is most important. So we lived it for 6 days before like I said, the season got postponed at that stage. But no, I haven't had those discussions, but I probably will moving forward.
How do you help like Gary Newley keep the morale in that 2 weeks, and then after the country's had to be in lockdown for a long time, being asked to do 2 more weeks in a hotel?
Yeah. Yeah, look, obviously they knew that was coming as they were travelling over, so they knew that they were going to be in a hotel for 2 weeks. And look, I think they're excited. I think they're just excited to get out and play football and do what they love. So we'll like I said, we'll keep them active in that time frame. And the main thing is that we do everything right and we stick to the protocols and make sure everyone's safe. And then it's important they're coming from the UK and one's coming from Mexico as well, and we're coming from a country that doesn't have any cases, has a couple of cases from previous days or last week, but we've got to make sure that they're healthy as well before they actually join our group.
And Rob, is there any update on the broadcast deal and what would it kind of mean to the club if Fox can't screen the league for the rest of the season?
Look, my understanding is, and I'm not really close to that, but I'm certainly confident that it will be broadcast, and we'll be watching it. We're going to be watching the league. We're going to be watching all these games. So I expect to hear some news in the not too distant future, but certainly. I'm confident that a deal is going to be reached, and we'll be able to watch it back here.
Sorry, are the other sheds some light on the overall financial impact this is going to have on the club, I guess beyond the season as well, and obviously you get a little bit of help from the government, but what kind of impact is COVID-19 going to have on the Phoenix?
Well, I mean, it's actually all professional sport, isn't it? It's, as I said right at the start, we're a business, so our product happens to be playing sport. So if you don't play, you effectively don't have a business. And in the end, everybody has options around what they want to spend and what sort of products they want to look to buy. And if your one doesn't happen to be available, people will go and spend their money on something else. So during the lockdown period, it was sort of stale movies, I guess. but we didn't have any choices in terms of how we were going to spend our sort of extra dollar, and that wasn't just us. That was, and not just the sports industry. There was the restaurant industry. It was the entertainment industry. It was there was the tourism industry. You don't have a product, you quickly go out of business. So the government support and the support package they put in place for professional sport was really critical. I think one of the issues that New Zealand faced, a little bit different to other countries, is that in terms of professional sport, we do not have the numbers in terms of population. We don't have the money in terms of the ability to support large-scale professional sports franchises. And if say the Warriors or us or the Breakers fell out of those leagues, to get back into the Australian leagues would have been well nigh impossible. And you then end up in a situation where you don't have professional sport in New Zealand, and that's got huge ramifications all the way through, not just from a sporting point of view, but also economically. So, the government support package, what the Minister Grant Robertson did, what Sport New Zealand did, Pete Miskimmin, was incredibly important in terms of ensuring that we still have professional sport. The next phase is how do you get it activated, and that comes through with being able to play again. It's one thing to survive, it's another thing to actually be sustainable, and for that we're going to need crowds, sponsors and so on, and broadcast deals. Clearly broadcast deals are going to change. Broadcasters are no different to any business. You say, I've got a product that I want you to broadcast. They say, I'll pay you some money. You don't provide the product. They go, I'm not going to pay you the money. It's pretty straightforward, sort of, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to work out that that's not going to work. So then going forward, they look at it and they go, well, is the product the same? What if you're playing? You're not playing in front of crowds. That's not quite so exciting when we broadcast it. So maybe we should change some of this. And those negotiations are going to carry on as long as we're feeling the impact of COVID. So you need a really unbelievably good crystal ball to understand what the total ramifications will be financially, except that you have to understand, you have to accept that it will be different. And I think every professional sport anywhere will be sitting there going, actually, we're going to have to cut our cloth accordingly. We will have to take out expenses. We will have to look at doing things in different ways. I think one of the things that is really important in terms of sport in New Zealand is that we get out of silos and start thinking about how we actually operate with better synergies between the sports. So if you look at a city like Wellington, 450,000 people, you've got the Canes, you've got us, you've got the Pulse, you've got the Saints. It's like, actually, do we need all that infrastructure behind individual sports franchises? Why aren't we talking and saying, what can we share here? What's achievable in terms of synergies? The US sports models are some of the best, where they have separate coaching structures and they have shared admin. So at some stage, New Zealand needs to look at it and go, what are we capable of supporting here? Let's go back and look at some of these models and go, are they the right sort of models? And I think that's probably a positive thing. It's come about in a way that wasn't positive, but actually longer term it might be actually really positive, because I think we might end up with more sustainable models. It also means that you can start looking at actually broadening the scale of it as well. So if we thought about it and we said one of the things that we're keen to do is have a W-League team, we think that's really important. It's going to be critically important if New Zealand and Australia win the hosting rights for the Women's World Cup, because what's it going to look like if we're the host nation and you've got all these countries turning up and we're the only country that doesn't have professional women's football? It's like, hold on, how does that showcase the sport here? It's not a good look, and it's particularly not a good look if Oceania is sitting there as the only federation without professional women's football, and yet they're one of the hosts. So I think we're sort of going, well, something has to change there. But would that give us an opportunity to say, well, actually, some of the things that we're doing in the W League, could we share some stuff with the Pulse, for example? Would that make some sense for us to go and talk to them? Now, I don't know. We haven't had any discussions. But I'm just saying we're going to have to think outside the square more. We're going to have to start thinking about how we actually change what we're doing in terms of the structure of professional sport in New Zealand. So if this was a catalyst for doing that, I think that's probably a positive.
Because one of the expenses, I suppose, is the academy. Is there an update on that, and do you have plans to bring that back, and then that might be?
Yeah, so when Domi can say more, but one of the papers that's coming to the board
next board meeting
is a paper on a revamp, but it's actually definitely we're going to stay with the academy, but actually on a re-geared academy and what we're doing there. So, I mean, we've never shied away from the fact we have to have it. We think that's an incredibly important part of the club in terms of providing that. I think it's a very important thing in terms of football in New Zealand, in terms of providing those professional pathways. But again, we have to be realistic about will the revenue flows out of broadcast deals in the future be different? I think they will be. They won't be going up. So if they're not going up, what is it going to look like? How do we cut our cloth? What do we need to do? And looking at the academy, that won't be any different. But certainly that's still front and very much front and centre in terms of our thinking. We will definitely have an academy.
Do you see that as being a more sustainable part? I mean, obviously, South Eagles, that would be sort of to Bayern Munich, and could that be a more sustainable thing for A-League clubs to be focusing on bringing those?
Every club makes its own decisions, but a lot of the clubs, and Ufi knows this from being at Sydney, but a lot of the clubs have pretty good academies already, and there's a lot of player development and investment in player development.
The reason you want to have academies, you want to develop your own players, and at the end of the day, for me, football is a business, and the more opportunities that we can give to our youngsters, that obviously they have to be good enough to be able to play in your first team, then we can develop those players where they have opportunities to play overseas someday, because they all have that drive and ambition. But like I said, it's a business, and you want to spend money down at the bottom level to develop players, and then when you sell players off, you can. For me, the way you look at it, that money goes back into the business to be able to do it again. So I think the academy plays a massive role.
The academy's running, Phil. We just haven't told anyone yet because we've been a bit busy on other things. But it's up and running. We were just waiting for Central League football to start up again.
So is he match fit at all? And like, does he understand the two shoulders?
Well, he can't be match fit because we haven't played any games, but he's 100% available to train with the group. So he doesn't need to be modified or anything like that. So he can once we're up and running, he can be training fully with the group.
Because he must be pretty delighted. Obviously, he travelled with the team last time. We wouldn't expect him to play, I'm sure. So is he buzzing to be back and have a chance to?
Yeah, I think he will be buzzing. I think it's given him a great opportunity. The 3-month sort of like layoff has given him an opportunity to actually finish the season off. So I'm hoping he's buzzing, and I hope he's excited to get back in with the group.